Hey guys, some stupid sketch guy here with another prehistoric figure review. Now this prehistoric figure review is going to be on a more obscure figure from a more obscure company that I think deserves a bit more spotlight. This figure is the vintage Tsukuda Triceratops. So let's get into it. So first, I just want to mention how I even figured out about Tsukuda, and that was thanks to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews reviewing their Brontosaurus. I had never seen a figure company ever make articulated vintage dinosaurs. That combination had just simply never been done before, and I thought that was interesting. So I gave them a look, and I found their Triceratops was only about 30 bucks. And I thought that was a pretty good price, and I liked the way it looked. So I bought it, and here we are now. So let's see if those $30 were well spent. Let's get into this. So first up, we will be reviewing the paint job. The majority of this figure is given a down-to-earth bluish-green color, and it looks really good. As most vintage dinosaurs had these kind of down-to-earth, realistic, not super bright and flashy colors. That would come later. So this definitely does help with the vintage feel of the dinosaur. And as well as that, simple things also help make the bluish-green stand out more, such as the brighter colored underbelly and the different colored horns, as well as the very nice shiny eye. I cannot tell you how much I love the eye paint application. It's just nice and shiny, and it really does look good. But if I have to give one critique, it's that the horns and, I guess, frill spikes on the side are not executed as well. It's not even the fact that they're chipped, that's just because of paint wear. It's just that they aren't executed as well. They just look kind of meh, and just don't really look as good as the rest of the figure's colors. But the figure's colors are definitely a huge good thing about this figure, and because of that, I give the figure an 8.5 out of 10 when it comes to paint job. Next up is Poseability. What kind of poses can you strike with this figure? Well, you can only strike one, because the only articulation points on this figure are its legs. And that's a, I guess, in motion pose, where you can show it moving its legs, in a way. Showing it walking, you know? And it looks alright. I think it's a great pose, but obviously it's a little disappointing that an articulated figure can only strike one pose. Although, to be fair, if you can only articulate the legs, there's only so much you can pose with. Either way, the one pose it can strike, besides its natural standing pose, looks great. And for that, I give the posability on this figure a 7 out of 10. In similar vein to posability, we will be reviewing the articulation. The articulation on this figure is alright. The three legs that I can move around articulate pretty well. They're not too stiff, and they're not too loose. And notice that I said 3 legs. Obviously, this figure has 4 legs. It's just that one of its hind legs, for no real reason, is just stuck in place. This is probably just a defect on mine, and hopefully that's just the case, but I can't help but mention this and hold it against the articulation, that, you know, they can have a defect like this. You know, that has to be pretty annoying and something to keep in mind. So with that major defect, the rating does go down quite a bit, and I have to give articulation only a 6.5 out of 10. And lastly, there's the detail, which is a surprisingly good thing about this figure. Excluding the horns, which basically have 0 detail whatsoever, the frill has a lot of detail, and so does the rest of the face. In general, though, a lot of figures do have great face detail, but lack everywhere else. So is this the case with this particular figure? And the answer is a resounding no! This figure has scales all over its body, excluding the belly, but the belly has good wrinkles. The wrinkling on the belly is very good, kind of reminding me of big animals like rhinos or elephants. But, excluding the belly, the rest of the body is completely covered in scales. The legs are covered in scales, the sides are covered in scales, just all over the dang body. It's a beautiful thing. It definitely just looks like a reptilian rhinoceros, and I love it. You know, you get a back full of scales, a tail full of scales, and I'm sounding like a broken record, but there's a crap ton of scales all over this creature's body. But the best thing about this figure is the eyeball. The eyeball is shiny and realistic, and looks straight out of a taxidermy. It just looks great, and just gives it that extra detailed polish it needs. This looks like a real creature, and the eye definitely helps with that. Just a beautiful figure with tons of great details and nooks and crannies. And for that, I give the detail a resounding 9 out of 10. So now time for my final thoughts. The paint job is very well applied, great down-to-earth and naturalistic. The poseability is limited, but can produce at least one really good pose out of it. The articulation is also quite limited, and also is prone to some defects, depending on the individual figure. And the detail is absolutely amazing and holds up incredibly well for its age, considering this figure was made in the late 80s. So, for my overall rating, I give the Tsukuda Habe Triceratops a 7 3/4 out of 10. I hope this review makes you want to buy Tsukuda Habe. They're anywhere from 30 to anything above that, and I think people should give them a shot. If you have a bit of money on your hands and are willing to bite the bullet, then they're a great purchase. I highly recommend these figures. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.